can induce the pregnancy to see if baby would come, because I had waited for like, I think up to like 39 weeks or almost getting to 40 weeks. I didn't have any labor signs, I didn't have any cramps, I didn't feel like baby was going to come anytime, like any time from that moment. So I went to the hospital and she was like, we would have to induce you, so pick a date. My EDD was supposed to be April 9th, so I went to the hospital around April 7th to check. So I went to the hospital, they checked and they saw that I was 2 centimeters dilated, but I wasn't in labor, I wasn't feeling any pain. So she was like, I should go back home and get my things. So we went back home. I came back to the hospital. They checked me into my room. As usual, my husband that is not pregnant, my husband that is not carrying any baby, that is not expecting to deliver any baby from his body, they gave him his own bed. But that was a sweet thing though, because he was there, we were gisting, we were just, I wasn't in labor, so we were just waiting for the time to come. So they checked me and they did a membrane sweep and they induced me. They gave me pills, they gave me something under my tongue, a pill under my tongue, and one somewhere. I can't really remember in details, but they actually induced my pregnancy. And she told me that once the process of induction starts and you don't go into labor, they would have to terminate it with a cesarean section. And I was worried, because if not that, you have to trust your doctor. Maybe, just maybe, I would have waited at home a little bit longer to see if my baby would come, maybe at 41 weeks. But it's also risky, and you also have to take advice from your doctor because you are not a professional. But sometimes it's good to listen to your instinct. It's good to listen to your body if you want to. I know we are worried, we are scared, because we don't want it to be like, but I told you to do this and you did that. But sometimes if you really have faith in yourself and your body is telling you, please don't stand up, you should sit down. Actually, you should sit down, because if at the end you sit down and God forbid something bad happens to you sitting down, you're going to take responsibility for it, and you're going to know that, okay, everybody said I should stand up, but I actually wanted to sit down. This is why that happened to me. But in this case, I was just looking for somebody to say, Shebi is this person that said I should do. So yeah, we started the induction process, and she was like, in 12 hours she would be back. So I walked around the hospital, I took the stairs, I did, like, for me, I would say I did tedious stuff to try to make baby come. And when I went to the hospital, the bathroom in my room, I noticed my mucus plug was out, and I was like, okay, so first step of labor is here. Let's see if maybe from 1 to 3 hours from now my baby, the labor will start proper, and then we would proceed to having the baby. So we waited for a while. The doctor and nurses came to check. They were always coming to check. I think 1 hour interval, they were always coming to check, and I just felt normal again. There was no pain, I was fine. At this point, my husband had gone back to work. I was fine, I was okay, nothing was wrong. I was just there. I even made some videos. I was like, okay, let me just see if baby will come. I think it got to about 24 hours and there was no sign of labor, even after inducing me. So at this point, the head doctor came to my room and he was like, we would have to check your heartbeat, your heart rate, or something. So they put on this, like, a big screen with plenty plugs and plenty, I don't know, if you're a doctor, you would know what that thing is. And they connected one to my stomach, one to my chest, to check my, like, how fast my heart was beating. I don't know what they call it, but so yeah, they checked it and they noticed that my baby was in distress, probably because of the membrane sweep and all other stuff they were trying to do to make sure he comes out, to see that I go into labor. And they were like, at this point, if we don't bring out the baby through an emergency CS, God forbid, you might have to lose the baby. And at that point I was like, God, is this how we said it? Is this how we discussed it? I am not saying having a cesarean section is a bad thing. And for those of you that says normal birth and CS, mind you, both types of birth are normal. As long as you're trying to bring a child to this world, it doesn't matter the pathway, it doesn't matter if it's through your vagina, if it's through surgery. As long as you bring out that baby safely, you are fine and your baby is fine. So a cesarean section and a vaginal birth are both the same and they are both natural. So please, can you stop saying vaginal birth is natural birth while cesarean section is a bad thing? It is not a taboo. People actually go to the hospital to have a cesarean section for different reasons. So at that point, the reason why I was sad was because I wasn't prepared. I felt like if I was planning to go to the hospital to have a surgery, if I was prepared to go and have a surgery, then I wouldn't take the news the way I took it. But it just came. It's not something I've experienced before. Throughout my journey of reading about pregnancies and deliveries and types of births, I didn't ever for once think that the pregnancy I was carrying would lead to an emergency C-section. So at that point, I was crying. I'm going to put up a picture here so you can see how I look. I was crying, I was tired, I was praying. I went to the toilet, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, God, this is not how I planned it to be. I don't even know, like, I am here this minute and the next minute I'm going to be cut open. I didn't even read. I don't even know what, like, everything was just, my whole emotions were everywhere. I was crying and I said I would like to see my husband, and my husband came. They told him the whole stuff, how the baby is distressed and everything, and we had an agreement to sign. So my husband signed for me to be operated on. So I was wheeled to the theater and I got an epidural around my spine. At that point, I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel anything. I was covered from my chest up. I was covered, so I wasn't seeing what was going on underneath, but I could feel it. I wasn't feeling the pain, but I was feeling the push and everything. So yeah, if you don't know, my dad is a theater nurse. So I've seen them, like, from through the transparent glass. I've seen them having cesarean sections and how the process is. So by the time the surgical blade was going into me and all of that, I knew what was happening, but then I wasn't feeling pains. My husband wasn't allowed in the theater, so I was there. I was gisting with the other nurse standing behind me, and around maybe 10 or 15 minutes after I was cut open, they just said, "Baby out." And my baby he cried. Compared to the first one that didn't even cry, he cried and he cried non-stop for like 20 minutes. And at a point, I was like, is anything wrong with my baby? Why is he crying so much? So they brought my baby to me. I carried him. He said, check his face. I saw his face. He was so cute, and they took him to my husband and the nurse to get cleaned up. So they stitched me and did whatever they did. I didn't see it. And they wheeled me. They didn't wheel me. They carried me because I couldn't even sit to my room, and I was placed on my bed. According to them, they said I shouldn't lift my head. I'll have like serious headaches after, so I shouldn't lift my head. I shouldn't do some stuff. So yeah, about the recovery process. In the hospital, I was basically feeding on drips and saline water. I wasn't eating. I think 24 hours after the surgery, you're not supposed to eat. So I didn't eat. I was just there, but I wasn't hungry. I was swollen because they kept passing me drips and antibiotics. They were checking me and everything. The nurses were very nice, very calm. Like, they really pampered me and took care of me. So yeah, I couldn't eat for like 24 hours. Then they said I should chew some ice. So they brought me ice in a cup, and I had that first. Then the nurse asked me if I've passed gas. I said yes. So at that point, I didn't know passing gas was a thing for women that did cesarean section. It was later I found out that if you don't pass gas, you would have tummy troubles for a very long time. And the gas that, your tummy was cut open, it was exposed. So stitching it back, I feel like the tummy would have gathered air while they were stitching it and everything. So I passed gas normal, and some blood came out as well. So they were always coming to check my stitches. It was covered for like 2 days, I think 2 days. Then they opened it. They were always coming to clean and check, and then the healthcare workers would come and bath me. Unlike the first birth that my husband bathed, like he showered for me, and it was all sweet and everything. This one, the healthcare workers cleaned me up. They were very nice. They were very gentle, and I couldn't get to see my baby almost immediately because my baby was in another room. So they brought him to me, like from time to time they were bringing him to me. So at that point I made the decision, because in my head I'm like, there is nothing. My first child was breastfed for almost 2 years, and I was like, there is nothing that will stop me from breastfeeding my child. I didn't plan for an emergency cesarean section, but I wouldn't let that stop me from breastfeeding my child. So yeah, after the baby came out, they were already feeding him formula. So after like 24 hours, I sent for them to bring my baby to me because I wanted to breastfeed. I breastfed him, and I told them all formula has to stop. Please don't feed my baby formula. So every time he cries, I would struggle to stand up to breastfeed. And then I think almost immediately my baby started the whole cluster feeding thing. He was feeding like almost every minute. So I would always stand up instead of resting to breastfeed. I would lay him down and stand up again. So it was a lot for me, but I managed to do that until I think the 5th day or thereabout that we came back home. Yeah, so when we came back home, my baby didn't let me sleep at night. It was a struggle because I was always standing up to breastfeed. And at that point, I made the decision that if I keep doing this, I probably might not heal as fast as I would. So I didn't stop breastfeeding. I started pumping. So I started pumping, and I moved my baby to my mom's room so she can always bottle feed, and I would always go there to check him and everything and rest properly like I'm supposed to. And also to, whenever I want to breastfeed, I go there to breastfeed him and everything. So he was always with my mom. But it backfired. It backfired in the sense that at a point, my first son fell really ill while I, went to the hospital to have my second baby. I've not shared this story in any public place, but if you're close to me, I'm sure you would have, heard this story from me. So when I was in the hospital bringing out my second baby, my first son was home and he fell ill. I'm not going to jump at what happened. I'm going to take it, step by step. So I noticed my baby started running temperature, my first baby, and he was sick. He had boil in his nose. He was always very sick. You take him to the hospital, they will treat him for cold and every other thing, bacterial infection. You come back after 2-3 days or even 1 week, he's down again with something. So it kept happening like that. And my baby was still very little, but because I could bottle feed, I was able to leave him with my mom while me and my husband attend to his older brother. So we kept going to the hospital. Back to back until, if you're a mom, please don't ignore signs. Please always follow your instinct. The supposed hospital that we kept going to, now the hospital, they are the ones that know better than us. They are supposed to tell us the bad things that are going on, advise us on what to do and everything. They were just basically feeding my baby with antibiotics, and they didn't really check to see what was wrong with him. So after weeks and weeks of giving him medications and he would still break down again, I noticed a foul smell was oozing out of his nose. And I was like, what could this be? See, Google was my friend. I read a lot and I saw the worst things on Google. I read a whole lot. But then something just told me that my dad is a medical person. I couldn't even tell him because he would overreact. But then I could have like little ideas of stuff. So I read a lot and something just said, move this baby to another hospital. So we went to another hospital, a better hospital in where I live, and we opted to see the ENT, ear, nose and throat doctor. So we went to see the ear, nose and throat doctor, and they checked my baby and they noticed there was something in his nose. And they said if they are not able to take it out, they would have to do a surgery. And at that point, I broke down. I just had a baby through CS. I was supposed to be recovering. My newborn is in the house. And now we have to nurse the older one. It's not even, you're not even nursing fever or cold or cough, something this big. So we prayed and we went to the room to check, and thank God helped us and they were able to remove it without having a surgery. Immediately they took it out. The nose stopped smelling. So in my head, I just started crying because I had gone through so much stress. My husband was very stressed, and at that point I was like, finally, so this thing will come to an end. This short story I just shared happened in a space of 3 months. So in the space of 3 months, I didn't even have enough time to care for my newborn. It was that bad. So my older baby became fine, and when I went back to resume my duty of being a new mom, to breastfeed and everything, my newborn was over having breast milk. He wasn't interested in having my breast milk. Like, giving him my breast to suck on it was like force feeding, because he would not agree. He was already used to being fed through, like, he was already used to being bottle fed. So I had to continue. I would cry whenever I tried to breastfeed him that he wouldn't collect. I would cry. I prayed about it. I tried. I read. I tried everything I read, but it didn't work. So I continued to express my milk into a bottle to give him to take, and that was how we succeeded to continue with breastfeeding. At a point, my breast milk wasn't supplying so much. I had to substitute with formula, and that was how we used formula up until today. The baby I'm talking about now is almost 2, and we still use formula, because if I were to be breastfeeding directly, I will still be breastfeeding him till this time. So that's by the way. So for cesarean section and for my unmedicated vaginal birth, if you ask me to choose, obviously I would choose the vaginal birth, because of the whole circumstances that surrounded the cesarean section time. And aside that, I would say that I healed faster with the vaginal birth compared to the cesarean section. So I would say it's amazing what a woman's body can do, the amount of pain our body can carry. Like, after going through all of this, we still come back, apply makeup, dust our shoulders, and still be who we are to our kids, because you can't afford to let your kids see you sad or see you crying and all of that. And I would say from my first and second birth experience, it has taught me a whole lot. It has shaped me to be the kind of person I am. It has made me a better woman, and as far as my kids are concerned, I will keep trying to upgrade and do whatever I can to see that I give them a good life, a better life compared to the kind of life I had growing up. So yeah, this is my experience with the 2 types of birth I had. I would definitely choose the vaginal birth over cesarean section. I have a lot of friends that would choose the cesarean section over the vaginal birth, because not everybody can go through labor pain. They find it unbearable. But for me, I wasn't prepared for a cesarean section. It was an emergency CS, so I would say that it is not something I prepared myself mentally for. So I'll definitely choose a vaginal delivery. For both recovery, I don't know. I feel like for me, the cesarean section recovery was faster for me, because once you are stitched, you just have to nurse your wound and make sure it doesn't get infected. Aside that, you would heal properly. But for the vaginal birth, I had to nurse my stitches. I told you I was stitched in 6 different places, so I had to nurse my stitches for a long time. I couldn't have sex for a very long time, and all of that happened. Then I had to like get my body back before my life continued. So different people have different preferences. For me, I'll choose vaginal birth. I am grateful for my children, and I'm grateful for all the lessons giving birth to them has taught me. It is not an easy task, and at this point I would like to say, if you're a mom that is trying to conceive, that is expecting and is praying to God to give you a child, I pray that your prayers will come to pass and you also will carry your bundle of joy. I know some women that are TTC would jump at any offer, whether vaginal birth or cesarean section. They don't care, they just want to carry their bundle of joy. And I pray that your miracle is going to come and you're going to share your testimony. Your baby is going to come out safe, and you're going to also experience this thing we call motherhood. Thank you guys so much for listening to my long story about my different kind of birth and my experience. Thank you so much for joining me here. Please leave your comment below. What kind of birth, if you have a child, if you have children, what type of birth have you tried? I wouldn't say try. What types of birth did you use? Okay, how do I put this? If you have multiple children, if you have more than one, are they all vaginal birth? Are they all cesarean section birth? Which one do you prefer if you've tried both? And for me, I would say that I really want to have a VBAC. VBAC means you having a vaginal delivery after having a cesarean section, and that's like one of the reasons why I'm not going to try to have a baby anytime soon, because I want my body to heal properly before I can now take in again. So yes guys, thank you so much. Please leave your comments down below, like, share, tell your friends about this video, let them come and learn, and please, as usual, put something in the comment section so I can learn as well from you. Thank you so much guys. Until my next video, stay jiggy guys. Bye.